more than a question, it's a comment. Jorge Garcia Orgales from the Steelworkers Union. And I want us to think in something that I kind of feel that it was common in all what the panelists were saying, and it's essentially that what we are fighting is a war of ideas. Peggy, in the beautiful poem that she read, give in every sentence why the others were different than I, and all of those were preconceptions coming from the idea of the market is the solution. Osman talked about the race and all the misconceptions that we have about the others, and they are coming from also that conception that working and making money and that kind of thing is the most important thing. And Naomi talked today, wrote books about these kind of conflicting ideas. Now, I think if we are here, we understand we are in a crisis, and I want to thank the Recession Relief Fund Coalition to put this together. But at the same time, I want to think carefully also that what we are fighting for here is part of the transition. It's not the end. Because we, and I'm sorry for the people that are working there, we don't want these service agencies to continue existing. We want a society in which food banks are not needed, in which immigrants and people of different colors will be accepted, and in which all the people that are doing these jobs will have the opportunity to do something else. And if not, they will be working for the public sector, because these are things that the government should do for the people that cannot do themselves. And that's part of what I think is the battle of ideas. We read about Europe mobilizing and the students, as Naomi said. We read about Latin America taking over factories. We can do all this stuff. But if we don't think differently, if we don't confront this with a different idea of what we want to achieve, we will end it with them back after vacations. Because we will have, and again, the auto workers have the worst fight of their life, because blaming the recession, they went after the workers that have nothing to do and took a lot of stuff that they fight for years to conquer, to win. And they have no other option, because in this society and today in Canada, if they go and say, we will take over Chrysler and we will run it ourselves, the members will look at them and say, you're out of your mind. It's not the government, it's not the corporation, it's our own people. Our own members, the ones that still buy the idea that the market is the solution. Then, we need to talk, as Sam is doing, about ownership. Not just transforming the corporation the way that it runs for the good of the environment or for the good of the worker, but also for the good of society. And that ownership is part of what we need to start talking and explaining to people, sharing to people that we, workers, can run a country as well, probably much better than what they are doing. And at least if we don't do it better, we cannot do it worse. What I think is important is that we start thinking on all that level, not only in the job level, not only in the environmental level, not only in the poverty level, but also at the level of what kind of society we want to build, and start sharing that vision among us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. As Jorge was speaking, I was just thinking, you know, about I think for so many years, we think of ourselves as being pawns of the economy, or that we serve the economy. And I think we really have to turn that notion on its head and make the economy work for us. It's the difference between people going into work, and it's the employer's workplace, their machines, their product, their control. And you know, I had wanted to comment earlier about the plant occupations. I mean, we have people who are occupying plants to get their severance pay, to get the back pay that they're owed. People who just went to work in the morning and thought they'd continue to have a paycheck, and they were told that their plant was closing down and they weren't going to get what's owed to them. And I think that, and so that takes a huge amount of courage, because anybody who has occupied a plant, or anybody who's even been on a picket line, knows that you are fighting the laws of the land, you're fighting the employer, you're fighting the police, and you are fighting, for the most part, public opinion. And I have seen plant occupations go very badly. And we have some terrible examples in the history of our country where people have been very badly hurt by plant occupations. And yet, on the other hand, I think that there is the potential for the power of a plant occupation to go very right. We've had good examples where people have successfully occupied plants, and they've won what they wanted, which was their back pay or their severance pay. But imagine if there was strong community support and strong public support, and the goal of the occupation, yes, was to get what people were owed, but also to defend the productive capacity of the machines, the dyes, the installations in that plant, in that workplace, so that that could still be put to use for some other good. And I just want you to think that, I know people love to malign the auto industry. The sales of cars are down about 50%. That will mean that probably about 50% of the auto parts plants are going to be in jeopardy in this country. Think about the tool and die makers, the dyes in those plants, the skills that people have, the productive capacity of a society that is lost if we lose those facilities. So if we look at the bigger picture and the goal of an economy serving the people rather than the other way around, think what that productive capacity could be put to use for, and we think about the terrible tragedy that it is, not just for the people who work in a plant, but for all of us to lose that capacity. It was put to work, it was marshaled after the Depression for the war effort in the Second World War. Imagine if we marshaled that productive capacity to help us reduce environmental degradation, to retool, to produce new ways of doing things for our economic needs, and think about the economy serving us for a change.